Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Thursday, August 18th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Real quick, a couple of clarification points. Number one, the price you see over here will be moving around and the candlestick will be moving around. That is because the market is still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame. What does that mean? Well, for the beginners out there, what that means is that each one of these candlesticks, as they're called, represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, BBBY, another huge mover. And this will mean a bit more to those of you that watched the video from Tuesday. But if you did, hopefully remember me talking about that trend line right there and saying that, it seemed like it'd probably come into play again. And now I'm not saying that I expected it to be this much of a nuisance, but talk about an absolute pain in the neck. I mean, and it's not a pain in the neck in the form of not being able to break through the level. It's way worse. It's letting the price break through. So there was a break and then back down it went. There is a break above it and then back down it went. Now right there was actually got rejected right at it, but check it out. There is a break above it, back down, break above it, back down, break above it, back down. And then even the last 30 minutes, break above it. And now as I talk, you can see a very nasty move back to the downside. So this trend line is very, very tricky. In many forms, you just like a trend line to just flat out reject the price because, okay, no breakout ever happened. But this one continually lets the price break through it and then drags the price back down. So certainly very, very tricky trend line to try to play there and a very tricky chart because this thing does keep breaking out only to then go on and fail. So continue to watch that trend line there. But again, just realize it's a very tricky trend line. If the price does continue to pull back, two main areas of support to continue to watch. First one is going to be that purple line there, the 50 period moving average valued at 1926, and the next key level down here, that former breakout point, which sits at the $16.50 mark. But yeah, all in all, still a great looking chart if you like volatility and all of that. But you got to acknowledge that the fact that, yeah, that trend line right there and trying to play breakouts on this thing has become very, very difficult. Next, ticker symbol EAR. Nice looking chart here, nice looking pattern. And when you have very well cut out patterns, you know that a lot of people are going to be watching those patterns. And whenever a lot of people are watching the same things and wondering the same things, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want. It can certainly produce some very worthwhile type movement. So the pattern here that I think a lot of people are going to be watching. So again, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to imply that this is a great skill to be able to draw, these lines in here. Again, like I said, I think a lot of people are probably watching and drawing these same exact lines. So let me change that one here to represent more so the support dynamic of the pattern, make that green. So we have a support down here right around 255, and then we have this resistance line up here, which puts the breakout area right around, let's just call it the 317-ish mark, give or take. But then just from an overarching pattern perspective, and make it maybe easier to see, we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big momentum move right there, we have our golf hole down there to make it more visual, and this would be a bull pennant pattern. So again, no such thing as a guarantee, but is it plausible? Is it valid to think that if the price can come up here and get a break up through the top part of that pattern, that break in and of itself could create that much more buying pressure? That is certainly a plausible outcome to think could happen. So definitely keep an eye on it if you like to play bull pennants and like to play this price range. Next one, ENDP, and there's no reason to beat around the bush. This thing was an absolute train wreck today. In technical jargon, what we would call a gap and trap, where the price closed right there on Tuesday, and then this morning opened up there, hence the gap up. And then after the opening bell rang, the price went up a little bit. True story. Some people were buying right there, poor souls. And then from there, just down it went, down it went. And then as I speak, check it out, volume is increasing as the price continues to drop further and further. Like I said, in real time now as I speak. So as far as where some potential areas of support are, we're having to go way back into the chart's history here because it has been a long time since the price has been down around this area. But the next level to watch very closely going to be right down there at 28 cents, which is coming from back here several weeks ago, back into June when the price was down around that level. Now, a nice bounce did occur. Let me be very clear, and I wish I could say trading was this easy. Just because a nice bounce happened last time does not mean that for sure another nice bounce is happening at this point. But again, is that at least a plausible? Is that at least a logical thought to have? Yeah, absolutely. Nobody could accuse you of saying that 28 cents is some sort of random area. So that's what does make this interesting. Is there going to be some sort of double bottom pattern from a bigger picture point of view after the gap and trap today? We'll have to see what happens with it over the next couple of days. Next one, BWV, and what a monster and this is exactly why I like to do these when the market's still open at the end, because check out this last 30 minutes, volume surging, and we do have a breakout trying to get out underway here, which brings about a very interesting question. Because so yes, the level of resistance here basically was right there at 750, and the price is now broken above it. And this is the idea of a watch list, to find unique, to find interesting situations, and not just randomly buy, but well, to watch them and see how the price behaves. And if the price does ultimately behave in a way that fits your personal risk tolerance and strategy, well, then you can start to form trade plans around it. But the interesting dynamic here is the fact that it has broken out and you have good volume, which leads to the valid question of, is this the start of something even bigger? Now, to be fair, maybe it's not. Maybe this thing just fails and goes back down. But that is a two-sided coin because, well, maybe it is. And if it is, and this thing keeps ripping and roaring, well, then it's a good thing that you had your eye on it and we're watching it if that does ultimately play out. But like I said, the philosophy of a watch list is let's find those unique and interesting situations. And, I'm not really sure not that I put them in numerical order, but I'm not sure why this was number 4. I mean, this is some great action here. And it'll be very interesting to see if this thing does ultimately continue to push and maybe even get up over $10 on Thursday. Next one, AMC, and this will mean a bit more to those of you that watched the video from Tuesday because I talked about these trend lines, both the resistance trend line and the support trend line here. And you can see that this morning, price tried to hold above it, but ultimately did fail. And as would be expected when such a major trend line fails from the support side, the price just continued to bleed and bleed and bleed, and then kind of rub salt in the wound. Last 30 minutes here, things are just getting that much worse, which now brings about a very, very, I think a question that a lot of people are asking. So again, it brings back the whole potential self-fulfilling prophecies. But what is the price going to do at that pink line there, which is the very well-known, the very famous 200 period moving average? That's one of those areas where even if you're brand new and you have a surface deep understanding of charts, I'm sure you've heard of that 200 period moving average, and you know that when the price is above it, it does tend to act as support. Not guaranteed to act as support, but it does tend to, and that level is down there right around 2045. So does the momentum carry it down to the 200 period moving average? And then what happens at that point? That's going to be a very interesting scenario. You're going to have some people that are saying, I want to short if the price breaks down below there. You're going to have other people saying, no, I think it's going to bounce. I want to go long. Both people have, formulated rational thought process. It's just a question of risk management because somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong. But that doesn't take away from the core dynamic that 2045, because it's that 200 period moving average, in my opinion, is definitely going to be a very highly watched level. But yeah, rough day today for AMC, but let's see how the price behaves if it does hit that 2045 mark. Real quick, I wanted to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online training that I'm offering here very soon. So if you're enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used, and why it's so powerful in helping to build consistency as traders, then certainly get signed up for the free training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage you can click to get signed up. Like I said, if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more, certainly get signed up for this free live training. Next one here, FUBO. Very rough move here today. Big pullback within the broad context of things here as it continues. So this really does have a couple different angles in terms of, is this a bad or good looking chart? Well, if you're some sort of day trader, flipper, scalper, whatever you want to call yourself, and you bought right there, or maybe you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 20 minutes, well then yes, from that perspective, the chart looks really, really bad. Now, if you do care about the big picture of things, even with the big pullback here, the trend is still up. And what makes me be able to say that? Well, not only is the price putting in those higher lows, but it's still up above the main moving averages. There we go. The purple line being that 50 period, the 200 period, as I already talked about, that pink line down there. So, and even if you don't want to use moving averages, then you can just look at it from a lows perspective. So you have this lows here, you have these lows, you have these lows, you have these lows, and if you envision each one of those as stair steps, well, what do you have? Well, from, again, emphasis on big picture. From the big picture point of view, you still do have stair steps progressing in the upwards direction. So again, I understand if you're a day trader and you bought right there, you don't care about these stair steps. But that's why I'm trying to make a big distinction, that I'm talking about things from two different viewpoints. And from the big picture viewpoint, the trend is still in the upwards direction. Next, SOFI, and a rough day today, not necessarily because it was red, but because the price actually broke through a pretty significant area of support, which was from this area back here at 705. After that big gap up, the price pulled back, found some support right there, and then never looked back and went upwards and just continued to grind. And yeah, there was pullbacks, but the one thing with each of these pullbacks is they never went down and even tested 705 until this one right here. But the problem is not that it tested it, the problem is that it broke down below it. So keep in mind where that 705 mark is coming from, because as I zoom back in, there's a foundational rule in charting which states when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. I mean, you could throw this right into a textbook because we have a classic example of that. Price broke below it, and now you can see once, twice, 3 times, price tried to get back above that level and couldn't do it. So while I'm not saying that 705 is impossible to break through, I'm just saying it makes sense why the price is struggling at that area, and that'll be the main battleground to watch moving forward. In terms of next levels of support, now it's just a question of, does this thing go down there and close that gap down around the $6.60 mark? That looking like it could be a very reasonable outcome here at this point. But of course, no guarantees. But those are definitely the 2 main technical levels to watch over the next few days. Next one here, PRTY, and nice looking pattern here. So as I talked about in previous stocks, we have this whole dynamic of self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, look at that trend line and how that trend line has done a beautiful job of just showing where those rejection points are. So that'll be the top part of the pattern. The bottom part of the pattern, whoops, I didn't need to go that low, or else my drawing is not going to be as, there we go, nice and clean as possible. So let me change that to green to represent the support, and then maybe you see where I'm going with all of this, because this is not a new pattern. We've already talked about this. We have our resistance, we have our support, we have the momentum move right there. Let's put our golf ball down here, and we have ourselves another bull pennant pattern. So nice move today here on PRTY. This does have a track record of being able to move and move very quickly. So if you do like to play this price range, like to play volatile stocks, and hey, not to mention like to play stocks that have bull pennant patterns, I definitely keep an eye on it. Next one, BBIG. And overall, the upwards momentum continues. But once again, as I talked about, a little bit of perspective here. If you're a day trader and you bought right there and wanted to buy and sell within 10 minutes, then from that angle, yeah, things are now looking rough. But assuming you do care about the big picture of things, sure, the price did pull back here today. Nobody can deny that. But within that pullback, and then when I factor in the big explosion that happened right there, we actually have ourselves a bull flag pattern. So yes, pulled back. But from a bigger picture point of view, or someone that just likes to play patterns, you have a bull flag pattern. But if you do care about it just from an overall standpoint, then even with that pullback, these lows are still very clearly higher than the previous ones, right? So you have this low here, or that wasn't even a good line, but you get the idea. You have that low there, and then you have that low way down there. So going back to the whole idea of stair steps still very clearly heading in the upwards direction. So however you want to look at it, assuming that you for basically everybody other than the people that bought up there and wanted to buy and sell within 7 minutes, for everybody else, the pattern, the chart is still bullish. Next one, TSLA Tesla, and like BBBY, a very cruel one. The trend line here, you can see 3 separate occasions broke through that level. I take that back, 2 separate occasions, because this one broke through, stayed above it for a while, and then just completely fell right back below it. So, just another fake break of that line. So moving forward, that's going to remain the key level of resistance, which right now puts the breakout point right around the $917 mark. So keep an eye on that. As far as areas of support are concerned, the level here that I think a whole lot of people are going to be watching for multiple reasons is $900. Reason number 1, it's just a big old round number. Reason number 2, you can see that is a gap close location, and that's actually where the price close the gap today before bouncing back upwards. So if the price does come back down there, you're going to have shorts and longs and everybody in between watching and wondering. Shorts are going to be saying, I'm looking for a breakdown. Longs are going to be saying, I'm looking for some sort of bounce up to that trend line. And then, of course, breakout players are going to be saying, I'm looking for some sort of breakout of that trend line right there. So again, everybody's got their own styles. Everybody's got their own strategies. But that's why risk management matters, because in all these different scenarios, somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong, which is why you always got to manage your potential risk. But in my mind, a whole lot of people, for sure, there's no doubt in my mind that $900, a lot of people will be watching. But that trend line there, I still think a lot of people out there will be watching that level. So definitely keep a close eye on it. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here and you want to learn more about this tool and why it's such a powerful tool for us as traders, and certainly get signed up for the class. Like I said, it'll be very soon, Thursday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, then please do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, leave a simple comment. Those 2 things go a long way in communicating to me that you enjoy these videos. And as long as I know people are enjoying, I will continue to make them. And the past couple of videos have had more comments than normal. So thank you. I appreciate it. And even if you leave a comment every single time, still, I love to see the same names over and over again. I feel like we become friends in a kind of weird type of way. But yeah, hit that like button, leave a comment below if you enjoy, and definitely get signed up for that free live class. And hopefully I'll see you on Thursday. But thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Have a good one.